I think that people just want transparency, and that's why a lot of founders show up so much, because people with smaller brands, like, they want to feel connected to the brand in some kind of way. It doesn't mean you have to be like giving up your privacy and forcing yourself to show up in a way that feels inauthentic, because that's not going to help you either.
Hello, and welcome to our next episode of Beauty and the Brand. I'm here with Keemia, and Keemia is a content strategist and creative advisor with close to a decade of experience in the luxury beauty and wellness space. She has worked closely with notable brands including NuFace, Ulta Beauty, Higher Dose, Ronabat, and many others to optimize their messaging and promotional content. Keemia is now a senior content lead at the leading brand strategy agency Front Row, where she helps accelerate e-com growth for some of the world's largest beauty brands via content strategy and management. And she's also been one of our most favorite advisors inside both our mastermind and inside C2C. Our founders absolutely love her. Anytime they're in New York City, they're connecting with Keemia, trying to go and hang out because she's such a fun time. I can absolutely attest to it. So welcome. Welcome, Keemia.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for the introduction. I'm so happy to be here.
I just love your evolution. You know, we've known each other for many years now. I think originally connected on LinkedIn, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. I was stalking you because I loved your content.
I love that. I hope it's still good.
Yeah, I was so lucky that, like, when you were looking for someone to work with, like, you chose me out of all the people. And here we are, like, 4 years later or something.
Yeah, or longer. Yeah. So, and Keemia has such a creative, brilliant mind. She's made for this whole space. And so I'm excited to dive right in. First question is that a lot of beauty brands tend to kind of throw things at the wall to see what sticks when it comes to their marketing. What do you feel from your perspective, you know, particularly with indie brands? What are some of the top three mistakes that you see indie brands consistently make that's killing their potential for growth?
It is true. I do feel like a lot of beauty brand founders are, like, really trying to kind of see what works. And obviously in the beginning, you don't know what works. And there's a lot of trial and error behind that. And I am on the content strategy side, just really analyzing what every brand is doing, and sometimes silently judging, sometimes silently admiring. And so I guess if there is a trend, something that I see a lot is, actually not keeping up with trends, not like, I don't know, being a part of the conversation. I think as a new brand, having a personality behind your brand makes you more, I guess, like, makes customers feel a lot closer to you. So I feel like I've been seeing a lot of brands where, like, they'll just have the same exact content, like, week after week, month after month, year after year. And a lot changes in life, and a lot changes even with the seasons. So, like, having, like, if there's a skincare brand and they're saying nothing about it being, like, winter time, I feel like that's a lost opportunity. Another thing is not updating socials. I'm not saying that you have to post 3 times a week. And yes, it's true. A lot of people are saying that maybe, like, Instagram is more. Yesterday, someone told me it was archaic. I wouldn't go so far as to say that, but I would say that maybe there's a lot of other platforms out there that are important. However, at the end of the day, if someone is trying to see, like, get the gist of your brand and feel you out, they are going to look at your Instagram, like, chances are. A lot of my friends do, and that's what I've seen with a lot of like, brands I've worked with, and they've let me know how impactful it is to just keep their social media up to date. It's like a portfolio. So yeah, just making sure that's up to date. And so if someone were to stalk you, you'd be ready for it. That's something that I feel like is important. And then,
can I just can I do a follow-up question on what you just shared with the archaic, like Instagram being archaic? So this person that said this, what did they say was not archaic then?
definitely TikTok, I feel.
Okay, but TikTok might be getting sold.
I mean, that's been said for, like, years now, right?
I know, but it's, like, coming back now. It's, like, for real.
Yeah, I don't know. There's, like, there's always that risk of that looming threat. But I do think that putting your content on any like social media platform, it's never going to be that secure. Like safety is an illusion, because like Instagram could delete your account or TikTok can get shut down. But I guess today it's relevant. And so today it matters, like maybe not tomorrow.
Fair. And then what's the third one?
Well, I feel like I've got like maybe two more, but just I won't go into the website like this next one as much because I think we'll go into it later. But I think that having a website that's not clear is a huge missed opportunity, because you're paying all this money, like even your social media is supposed to lead back to your website, your ads that you're running is supposed to lead back to your website so people can make a purchase. And when you don't have a website that's clear and you don't have enough like call to actions on your product pages and on your website, that is such a wasted opportunity and it drives me nuts. And the last one kind of ties into everything else I was saying was not taking risks or testing new things. As a small brand, your one advantage, well, many advantages, but one big advantage is that you can pivot quickly without having like a huge team to answer to. There's a lot less pushback. So like, I get surprised when I see a very small brand that's not taking any risks or is not switching things up from time to time, because it's like there's not really that much to hold you back. And I understand like financially, it's not easy to have like a new photo shoot every single time, but we've got AI now and there's little tiny changes that you can be making, like with brand colors even, that doesn't have to be on your packaging, but in your marketing that could just really like enhance your brand and see what works better. Like maybe, I don't know, just switching things up is how you kind of find out what's working and what's not.
I like that. Switching it up, website, making sure you're showing up consistently and having a social, presence. Okay. So with that being said, with creating unique content, I think this is a good segue to, with AI being such a great tool in creating content and supporting brands in their marketing strategy, it's also making marketing, I think, somewhat inauthentic or somewhat generic. And so what does a brand need to do to create content that doesn't feel like it's just blending in like with all the thousands of other beauty brands?
Mm-hmm. That's a really good question. And I think that at the end of the day, sometimes things get overly complicated in terms of like branding. And also, I'm really sorry about the sirens. Aggie and I are both in New York, and I am in Midtown. I am 10 streets away from Times Square. And
I'm in Times Square, so there you go.
We're right next to each other.
I just happen not to be by a window, which is the only reason why you're not hearing that from my end.
Lucky. Sorry, I apologize for that, but I'm going to try and stay focused. But yeah, so I think that one secret to kind of like not blending into the background noise of 1,000 other beauty brands is having this one thing that you stand for. I think it was Gary Keller from Keller Williams Real Estate who has a book called The One Thing, which I would recommend. But basically just, well, that's kind of separate, because that's saying like there's always one thing you can do that would make your life better. I'm just saying be known for one thing. Like today I was looking at this influencer that I really like, Ella Rose, and she has a makeup brand and she was using it, and I was thinking like, oh, that's kind of like a shame. She has this new brand with a new product, which is blush, and she doesn't have like any kind of like skincare infused in it. Like it would have been maybe more unique. Like if I were her, I would have added like peptides into the blush or something to make it multifunctional, since that's like so big right now. But then I realized she's always stressing the same thing. Like she's always saying, this is makeup that's easy to use. Like it's like a kind of like a highlighter and a blush in one, and it has like the applicator in it, and so it's like one step and everything is done, and that's like her whole thing. And that's how I know her brand, and she's always been consistent with it. And I feel like actually that is enough. So if you can be known of like very easily, like, oh, that's the brand that does like that super easy makeup, or like, oh, that's the brand that does the melanin rich skincare, like for melanin rich skin, sorry, or like, things like that, or like Anima Mundi herbals, they are known for like they have like over 100 products in their assortment, but they still are known for one thing, which is incredible, and is having like I guess, like consciously sourced life enhancing herbal supplements. Like no matter what they sell, it's kind of going to be under that category. So that would be my advice.
I love it. There's actually this brand that one of our founders in C2C, they were sharing, we were doing this positioning exercise, and they brought to the exercise, they brought these two brands. One of the brands, I can't remember the name of it, but it was built like it started with this founder who was sourcing coffee grounds like from cafes so that it wouldn't go to waste, like so it wouldn't all like end up in the dump. And they started repurposing it for like coffee scrubs for their skincare line, and that was like their hero product. And now the brand has taken off because of this two-prong approach, which is like products made with coffee grounds, but also sustainable because they're taking these coffee grounds from local cafes and repurposing them, so upcycling them. I think the brand is actually called like Upcycle Beauty or something like that. Yeah, it's super cool. So the point being that like it's like that is like a very clear differentiator and immediately stands out. Like that's their sort of claim to fame, and they keep using that, like the coffee ground. So
Yeah, and they can grow their assortment, but with like similar kinds of products that will stay on brand. And once you know like what lane you're in, then you can kind of like have a natural progression from there.
exactly. And they know they're tapping into like their target customer is the very sustainably conscious customer who also, of course, appreciates beauty. So it's very clear what they're going after. Okay, so I want to touch on you did this incredible e-commerce training with us recently in our mastermind where you shared like the top 2025 tips that can help optimize websites going into like this year and going to the new year. Can you shine light on a few of your favorite tips or trends you're seeing in website optimization that are giving big payoffs for the effort?
Yes, that was such a fun masterclass both times this year in Costa Rica and in New York. That was so fun. And I switched it up both times. So I've got so many random tips I could be sharing. But I will say, since we're talking specifically about like how to optimize a website, bundles was something that I feel like your cohort was like really interested in. Like all the founders had like questions about bundles and how to do bundles. And yeah, I think that's like a really simple way to increase your AOV and to kind of, it's almost like a cross sell, but also like people love value, and you can do a virtual bundle, which is what I was saying. And for those of you who know like what I do, I work a lot on the Amazon side these days for beauty brands. And so on Amazon, it's very simple to like do a virtual bundle, but same with like Shopify. It's like the difference between a virtual and a hard bundle is like a hard kit is like you have it and it's like boxed up like for the holidays or something, and it's like a literally like it's one SKU, its own SKU, whereas a virtual bundle is like you can combine all SKUs, and it's kind of like you're just having like 3 items in a checkout. I think it's a really simple way, especially like let's say you're a hair care brand and you have a lot of products and some are for dry hair, so you have the dry hair bundle. Or like for one brand I work with, Higher Dose, they have like a sauna blanket, but then they have like a lot of complementary products like electrolytes. So once you're sweating, then you might want to replenish your hydration with electrolytes. And so like that's a really natural pair. And then they also have a sauna blanket, so like it just really makes sense to have all those together. So things like that I really recommend bundling. And then not to be like, I don't know, condescending, but like actually good infographics would be great. That's like the biggest thing that I see with even big brands. Like I just get really riled up thinking about how much people talk about I don't know, like marketing strategies and everything, and they don't go back to the basics. Like if it doesn't matter how fancy or how amazing your ads are, if you're driving them to a website that doesn't answer any questions, and people don't read everything that you have. Even if you have an amazing like set of like copy and like bullet points in your product description, you still need to have infographics. So I think that is really important, and obviously videos, and I would even say cross-sell features and a subscribe and save feature if that's relevant to your brand.
Oh my gosh, so many good tips. Cross sells, upsells, bundles, and infographics. Would you say that you can repurpose the same infographics for both Amazon and one's website, or they have to be different?
Oh no, they can definitely be the same. There are just a lot of regulations on Amazon, and a lot of small brands are not that compliant in terms of their copy. And so they can find that when they they try to put an image on Amazon, they're like surprised when the word inflammation gets like flagged, and then their whole like listing has issues because they're making claims that they can't like necessarily back up. So if your copy is compliant, then yes, it would be a great idea to just use the same. And yeah, if anybody ever has any questions, just email me and I will be happy to answer them.
Amazing. Thank you, Keemia. So speaking on Amazon, what is it worth it for, indie brands who are bootstrapping? Is it worth it nowadays to be on Amazon?
Short answer is yes, absolutely. I think it makes sense. Of course, like if we want to get more technical, like if you're, it just depends on like your logistics as well. But it's a great defensive strategy, especially if you are like offering a lot of sales. Sometimes people would buy like a large quantity of your products and then they'll sell it for cheaper on Amazon. And then it's like you have no power like if someone is doing that. So it's a good defensive strategy. It's also like very relevant, especially like if you sell a product that people are looking for on Amazon, then you might be like missing out on a lot of money. And it's also like a search engine in itself, and it runs on like reviews. And I think that it's absolutely like when I start my own brand, I am going to be on Amazon in the first year. I promise you, like that. I think that's just, it's a waste if not. It's like, yes.
Yes, yes, and yes. So my next question is, if you could take an indie beauty brand founder or an indie beauty brand and completely overhaul their entire digital strategy in 90 days, what would be the first 3 moves to maximize their conversion potential?
Okay, big question, Aggie. This is like a jam-packed like podcast episode. I hope people are like taking notes. If this is a lot. This is really helpful, I hope. And if it's not helpful, like just talk to me. I don't know what. I'm doing my best to give as much value as I can with these answers. And it's hard to like answer this in like a short answer because there's so much that can be said. But I guess if I could sit down with an indie beauty brand founder, I would just want to talk to them first about how to make their content more impactful and cohesive. And then I would definitely, like 9 times out of 10, want to redo their website because like I said earlier, most brands I see are not doing the most for their website, and it all goes back to your website. And lastly, I would do a lot of A/B tests. I think that is one of the most important things you can be doing as any kind of D2C e-commerce brand founder. Like obviously in stores, it's a lot harder to test what's working and what's not, but online, it's a whole different ballpark. There are so many websites and services that you can use to A/B test. And if you're not doing it consistently, I think that it's like a huge shame because it will give you confidence and clarity on what's working so that you can like run in that direction.
And what do you think, like, what have you seen in your experience? What sort of improvements or changes would like impact conversion the most in your experience?
It's really surprising because we've A/B tested a lot of images, and sometimes certain brands, like there'll be like a model infographic, like a model using the product, and then we'll test that against like just a random product lifestyle image with the same exact copy, and we would assume that the model image would be like the most effective because that's what historically has always worked for people, seeing like proof of like people using it, even if it's like a studio image. But sometimes there'll be like an overwhelming response that votes for the lifestyle image of just the product. So I think like it can be really surprising. And another thing is like, I guess with main images, that's something that I think would be the first thing that I would test before anything else, because your main image is what makes people click on to the product page. Like if you're like people are surfing your website and whatnot, sometimes images work better with like the packaging next to it. Sometimes images work better with like the swatch, like if you have a CRM. But yeah, if anything, it really depends on your customer. So it's something that's worth testing.
Okay. So it really does depend on the target customer then. It sounds like there's no cookie cutter, like this is the right way to do it. It's interesting that you say that because I was talking to the founder of Beauty Heroes, and she mentioned that for her customer, they have they happen to have a customer who does appreciate more education, more knowledge, more information. And so their homepage is actually much more text heavy than one would say is the standard practice, but it works for them. And so I kind of, that kind of piqued my interest because, with every single brand, depending on what the demographic is of that customer, yeah, you're right. I mean, it's all going to be relevant to that person and how they prefer to consume the content.
Definitely. And sometimes like with luxury brands, it can be even harder because I think that you have to kind of maintain the luxury feel of your brand, and it's kind of more limiting when you're trying to test different kinds of marketing concepts, because it's like, does it still look like, I don't know, on brand? So there's always like room to see what works and what doesn't.
Mm, yeah, and then you mentioned earlier trends and like being, I guess, being on theme or being relevant to whatever's happening currently in the world and or seasonally, certain themes throughout the year or even holidays, right? So where's the line then between being trend aware or theme aware versus becoming a slave to trends?
Oh, well, I do think there's a good amount of brands that are frustratingly, in your words, a slave to trends. And yet it works. But I think it can work if you are constantly like churning out like new products in your assortment. But that's not most brands. And so I think that if I don't know, I think that it's just important to kind of stay updated and relevant, but it's not like you have to do the most. Like, not everybody's Hailey Bieber and launching like their fall mocha lip color with like a fall mocha matching phone case, like just casually like that, on a whim and with like, I don't know. But for the rest of us, I think even just like a skincare brand, like acknowledging that it's winter and you might want to have more hydration is really what I meant. Like, it can just be like a piece of content. It doesn't have to be like a new product necessarily. And yeah, I hope that is a helpful answer.
Yeah, I mean, I think that making things topical, but not, necessarily like applying it to every single trend that's out there. Because I definitely think especially from a sustainable standpoint, from an inventory standpoint, from a financial business development, like from a financial standpoint, like it doesn't make sense to follow the trends. But what I will say is like, I think what a lot of times what I find is that brands will hear or read about a trend. Like I remember this very well with CBD. When CBD was kind of starting to spike, like there's a bunch of brands that jumped on that bandwagon, right? Wild west, right? And I had a few brands like that. And I remember like when CBD was like had peaked already and it was kind of like starting to, trend downward. there were people entering the CBD space. And I just remember thinking like, it's done. Like, don't like, this isn't the time to get in, to enter this, enter this, this space at this trajectory. And I think once you have a lot of journalists writing about it, a lot of media talking about it, it's kind of past its peak, right? To a degree, unless it's a core part of your vision and your mission and like what like the core part of your business. So I always say like, don't follow trends. If it happens to be that, let's say CBD, for example, is such a core part of your, like the reason why you started this business and a core part of your brand, and then the trend happens, great, fantastic, like ride that wave. And, you know, same thing with like Bakukio, like maybe there was a brand that already was like thinking about how do I find like my clients or my customers are having the sensitivity to retinol, and then they discover Bakukio, gets on the ingredient gets on the market, becomes readily available, and then they create a Bakukio product, great, fantastic. But if it's like, oh, it's trending and now I'm going to just like latch onto a trend, I usually find that doesn't work.
What you said was actually really interesting and profound. Like, I don't think you even realize like that, like the idea that once it's been talked about in the mainstream, you know that it's kind of like peaking. That's so interesting to think about, because like even like let's say in fashion, like once it gets into an H&M, then you kind of know the trend is probably going to be over soon, because like it starts with the smaller designers, and it will just like get into like haute couture and then like ready to wear, and then it will go down into like fast fashion at the very end, before it trickles out like of style. And that's, yeah, you're right. And I also agree, like, are you here for a good time or a long time? And if you are here for a long time, like stick with the one thing, like I was saying earlier, like if it aligns, like you were saying, like absolutely, if like try it, and if you can get it out soon, like, and not have to have like 2 years of like iteration before you can launch, like that's one thing. But chasing a trend in terms of like a new product is such a risk. It's not like, because there's like trends, like just memes and like funny things that are going on the internet, or like colors, like we were saying, like the color of the season, like in the fall was black cherry, and now it's like mocha latte, isn't it? Yeah, and it's like those things you can incorporate like real quick, which is much less of a risk.
100%. And it's color, you know, it's not like we're changing an entire formulation or something like that.
Yeah, it's not 10,000 new like units of like one product that may be over by the time it launches.
Exactly. Okay, so, you know, there's a lot of, you know, influencers that are starting businesses or brands. Obviously, you just mentioned Hailey Bieber. And we know that being the face of a brand always is helpful and valuable, but is it necessary? Like, is it necessary to be the face of your brand, in your opinion?
I think that people just want transparency, and that's why a lot of founders show up so much, because people with smaller brands, like they want to feel connected to the brand in some kind of way. It doesn't mean you have to be like giving up your privacy and forcing yourself to show up in a way that feels inauthentic, because that's not going to help you either. I think if you can just find a way to make people feel close and connected to your brand, whether it's like a mission that you stand for or whatnot, there are so many other ways. Like if you're that reluctant. With that said, I do think that being minimally visible is extremely essential. You can tell me if you agree or disagree, Aggie, but I think that a lot of people just like, I don't know, it's kind of hard to feel close to a brand if you don't even know like whose idea it was and why it came to fruition.
Mm-hmm. No, I do think it takes a lot longer to build. Like, so, you know, you probably correct me if I'm wrong, but, and this statistic changes, I feel like almost on a daily basis, but there's that statistic around like it takes 7 to 14 touch points with your brand before someone's willing and ready to purchase from you. And those touch points increase in number of how many they need if you aren't showing your face. So I do know that that is true. The number of touch points, the exact touch points, I feel like that varies. But I do know that it is true that it is harder to penetrate and build that trust, to your point, and like that credibility if you aren't showing your face. But I guess what I'm interested to hear your thoughts about is, the advanced, I always call this the advanced strategy, but the advanced strategy is to like borrow or like hire a face for your brand, either an ambassador or an influencer that, you go into contract with, that becomes the face of the brand. What are your thoughts on that?
I think if you can afford it and you really hate being in front of the camera, or like if you want to keep your brand like always like ever changing, that can make sense. Like it makes me think of bigger brands like Chanel or something, and like I guess they'll go through like an edgy moment and they'll get like Lily Rose Depp or something, and then they'll go through like a good girl moment and they'll find like an actress for that. And I think like, or they're gonna like want to hone in on like their mature audience, and they'll find like an older actress to like speak to them at that time. So I think that's an advantage when you are constantly like maybe changing and working with different influencers and partnering with them or whoever it may be. But yeah, like I think it's always still at the end of the day, like you should show your face at some point. Like, I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to think of examples of brands that aren't that active
Yeah,
with
it's
that.
hard, right?
Yeah, I guess, and it's only the brands that have like a huge mission. Like, I think there's that brand Uni that I was telling you about before, and I don't know who the founder is actually, and I just know that they are like so pro, like blue beauty, and like all of their ingredients are ocean friendly, and they donate so much to like give back to like ocean, like relief, like waste kind of cleanup programs. There's also like one of your students who has like this Portland based like farm like skincare brand. Yes, hey Melissa, I don't know we can name her, but um, yeah, she like when I think of her brand, I think about how like important the most important aspect to me is like how she has all those ingredients from her backyard that she's like cultivating and like harvesting for her formulas, and I feel like that's so strong, and I feel so connected because it's such a local brand and like such a small like batch kind of precious product, or every product that she sells. So like I'm not saying that she shouldn't show up though, but like at least she's showing like her process.
She does such a great job. The brand is called Gatherwise, by the way, and for everyone who's listening, and it is they do such a beautiful job of showing like the behind the scenes of the farm and how they harvest the plants and then turn them, distill them and all the whole process. It's very, very special and unique. And what's really cool is that everything that she's, bottling is able to grow on the property. They're not having to like source things from outside of the area. So even more of a like a uniqueness to it, unique factor to it.
Yeah, I feel like even if I didn't know how amazing she was and like her own founder story, I feel like that is her founder story in a way, like how she had all these amazing botanicals like at her disposal, and she like made something so beautiful with them, and it's almost like I feel like it feels like it's like a customized product because they're so like each product is so like niche and special as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And okay, so speaking of brands that you're loving, tell me like what other brands are absolutely killing it in your experience and why?
I think that could be its own episode. I constantly having love affairs with brands, as are you. And maybe we should have an episode where we just go back and forth, ping pong, like the brands we love. And I'm sure you'll be like, oh, I heard of this brand. And then we'll like go back and forth with that. I'm going to name one that's not like actually like a beauty brand, but it's Set Active. I recently saw the founder at a summit speak, and I just started like paying closer attention to their branding. I also know like the chief brand officer, so I guess I was just extra nosy. But then now I realize like it's objectively like disruptive and really good, and I just think they they are like, yeah, they're very like a brand of the moment, but they also have very fair prices and they have quality to back up their hype. And they're also like extremely hyped, and they're like a local New York brand. I just love seeing like what they're doing, and also they have interesting strategies. Like right now, I saw like I know that Aggie, we worked on this article together about how to like offer promotions without discounting your products or like being cheap, like always having a sale. And I think this is,
By the way, that article is like our most popular article to date still. I can't even tell you how many people download that. Like, because you read it, but then there's like a option to like download something more every day. Every day, some like people are downloading that PDF.
well, there's another podcast idea because that's like such a good idea. And there's so many new ways since that article. Like what I was going to say is Set Active just, I think they're trying, like they even said, like they just have like some stock they want to get rid of. And so they're having surprise like bags where you choose your size and you choose how much you want to pay. Either like, I think it was like $50 is like 3 items, where normally at least like it's at least 60 for one item or something, and it says like $150 value, or you can pay $100 or 150 and you get X amount of products and it shows you the value. And it's like a surprise and you have no idea what you're going to get, and it's final sale, so you don't have to worry about returns and things like that. It's just fun to like see a brand.
That's super fun. I think we actually did include mystery bags in ours.
And that article was written years ago, so good on us. Yeah, it's been such a pleasure getting to like work with you, Aggie, because you are like, you're always thinking about the best ideas. Going back to Skin by Ella, these are just like, if you ask me next week, it might be a whole different list. I just get like really deeply into brands.
Yeah. Every time I see you, you're like, have you heard about this brand? Have you heard about, you're my person when I'm like, what's happening? Like, what do I need to know about like Gen Z brands, Gen Alpha brands? Like, what do I need to know? You're the one that keeps me up to date.
Well, I do love like just, yeah, I guess delving into that. Well, I guess without explaining, I do love like Necessaire as well. And Skin by Ella, like I was saying, I think they're just constantly coming up with new content all the time, and it's like very low key. But like I said, even if they do work with like influencers or if she's just making content herself, it's always going back to like kind of the simplicity of it. So I do love that. And then Crown Affair, I think they have been really smart with how they launched. So the founder, Diana Cohen is her name. Diane Cohen, I think, or Diane, I don't remember, but she is really smart. She started with bootstrapping, and then in the beginning, she wanted to collaborate with brands. And so like she has done really strategic collaborations. Like she once worked with like a candle brand, because she's a luxury hair care like founder. And so she found other like adjacent luxury brands to partner with. And I think that has helped her a lot, she was saying as well. And I just think that's like smart. Now she's in Sephora. She just closed a Series B, I think for like 10 million or something. She's killing it. So very inspiring brand. And she always goes back to like her branding, which is all about time. And it's like having the luxury of time and like taking the time for your hair. So yeah, I love that brand and many more, but I'll stop there.
Yeah, no, this is great. I mean, you can keep going. But I think, so you mentioned that, she did partnerships to really borrow audiences and grow the brand. It's so interesting. I was just talking to the founder of August Noah yesterday, Ali. She and I were talking about, how to grow businesses and how to grow brands. And, one of the things that I've always kind of stood by is that, particularly if you're bootstrapping, it's really comes back to like, what is your skill set? Like, what's your zone of genius? And leaning into that, because it sounds like for Crown Affair, the founder's zone of genius was partnerships and building relationships, which happens to be the case for like Jen Davis, who grew Nurse, like that's her strong suit. Like she can build relationships all day, every day. Some people are introverted. That may not be like the first thing that they think of, but they're really good at copy, or they're really good at doing video, doing the tech and video and stuff like that. Some people are really good at comedy, right? So it's like really figuring out what your lowest hanging fruit is. Because in the beginning, unless you're hiring support, even if you're hiring support, you got to figure out what your lowest hanging fruit is. Like for us and for me, it was always copy. So with my product brand, with my service brand, with both of my businesses, I've always leaned on copy instead of trying to like be something that I'm not. Like trying to do something that would be really challenging to stay consistent with. Like at some point I could hire out for that, which is great. But like when you're starting out, you want to zero in on like and leverage the thing that is your lowest hanging fruit. And that way, when you do hire, you can also train somebody on how to do it well. Versus if you were like just starting out and you're trying to do, I don't know, like partnerships, but you don't even know how to guide that person on partnerships. You know what I mean? Because that's not your strong suit.
Totally. I have two things to say that. One is like you are such a strong writer, and your voice is so like, it's like quippy, and it's like relatable and personal. And so I think it just makes it so easily digestible. Like sometimes like, cause I subscribe to your newsletter, and like, it doesn't even pertain to me, but I want to read it because I love everything that you write. I would just like, you could write about garden gnomes and I would read it. So that's one thing. And then two, I think that you're always like very strong about how to do things smarter, not harder. And I think that's like one of your zones of like expertise and genius. And I think that's like some of those articles that are on your blog that went viral is like how you launched a brand with like, and did the brand launch party for so cheap instead of like making it sound like so daunting and expensive. You like found so many smart, practical, pragmatic ways to just make it like the best it can be on like a budget.
I love to barter. I love like thinking outside the box and, I think like being resourceful is really what it comes down to. Like, how can we really leverage and be resourceful? However, I'm going to push back on that. Thank you for the compliment on the copy. But Hemingway doesn't think so. Hemingway, the app?
Oh, no, I thought we were talking about Ernest Hemingway.
No, well, yeah, him too. Like, there's this app or plugin called Hemingway, and it's all about like taking your copy and making it like third grade level. And then it grades your copy on like what grade level. And mine always comes out like grade like 15, which is like a master's. And then I'm just like, oh, I need to like make these sentences simpler, break them down, make them more digestible, break up the paragraphs, all the things. But the context is definitely there.
You have your process, but the end result is always genius. So, and I think that's why people love you so much, because also you are so pragmatic and you are like no nonsense. You just like offer such really, 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 really good advice, but you also know that the advice you give should be something that's practical and actionable. And like anytime we collaborate on something, you always make sure to be like, hey, like make sure that this is like super easily actionable and people at home can like do something like right away, or make sure people can like, yeah, maybe have something to like take back with them as homework. And like you always make that like point to do that. And I think that's why you're so like profoundly helpful to people.
Thank you. I always try to make sure like everything is actionable. I hate fluff. I just really, really hate it.
And there's too much fluff online.
I know, it's all, there's a lot of fluff. And I think really it's more, it comes back to like that core, I think the pain point that I was trying to solve with what we do, which was that it's like, what am I supposed to do next? And I was building my brand. I don't know. It's like, there's no direction. There's no like blueprint. Like, what do you do? And it makes it even more challenging when you're bootstrapping and your funds are really limited and you're trying to figure out, how to grow your business on a very limited budget. You have to be really strategic with what you do with that funding. Okay. So you gave me some brands, which is awesome. speaking of brands, I love this, not to go too off tangent, but I love Tower 28. Recently, I've been loving like this one. I don't know what product this is, but it's this like, oh my God. It's called Juice Balm Tinted Lip Balm in Shake. I have this actually in like 3 different colors. I love, okay, so this is my gripe with Sephora lip colors, at least some of the brands that they're carrying. Maybe it's just maybe it's just most brands carry these colors, but they're all like darker shades. Like they're all like, they have brown undertones or like berry undertones. And I can't even tell you, like, I'll go into Sephora and I'll go through like all these brands, Gen Alpha, Gen Z, Millennial, whatever. Like, I'll go through all the brands and they all have like these very like darker tinted, even the sheers are like, have a brown or like berry undertone. And I like bright, like this, like orange bright, like high magenta, like magenta pink bright, like those are the colors that I love. And they're not as easy to find. Like I even would love like a, almost like I remember when I was like I had this lip gloss club in middle school, or like, yeah, it was like a lip gloss in middle school, or maybe it was like end of elementary school, beginning of middle school. I mean, I don't know if I started it, but I was a part of it. And those shades, like it's like almost like a bubblegum pink, and it's super like matte, like white, almost bubblegum pink color. And it almost goes on like it's like a layer of this color. Just, it looks, I can't even explain it. I feel like the audience is going to be like, it's this, but they can't respond because we're recording this now. Anyways, I love those colors, and so I do really like Tower 28. They do have this like really nice bright orange color. That's not this one, but a different one. And also like I love Thrive, the Thrive Cosmetic Mascara, the one that's like the liquid lash extensions. Have you tried this before?
My friend actually gave that to me, but I haven't opened it yet because I have a lot of other mascaras. At the moment, my favorite mascara ever in the whole world that I keep buying bottle after bottle of is this Wander Beauty one. It's there's several ones, but it's the pink bottle. Thank me later, because it has the growth serum in there too, and it just, I feel like I can do one coat and like it's like I'm getting away with murder. I feel like it's too good to be true.
You have to try this.
Okay, I'll try.
You have to try this.
So I'll use it soon.
Yeah, I love Wander Beauty. I love their highlighter. I'm upset they don't have it anymore.
Right now.
Dual.
Yeah.
They don't have the duo though.
Yeah, they do.
I don't know if right here one. Show it to me.
Hang on.
Well, it's okay if you don't have it near you.
I think
it's fine.
I think a bunch of products. It's called On the Glow.
Wait, show me like the actual product.
It's in my makeup bag.
Okay, that's fine. There was this one duo stick. It was called like a duo stick, and it had a highlighter and a blush. No, it had a highlighter and bronzer.
Yeah, this is it. Hold on, I have another. Oh, a bronzer. They might have the bronzer. I don't remember their whole.
I don't think they have it because I keep checking their site and I haven't seen it.
This is
that's a cheek
and the highlighter. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was a bronzer and a highlighter, and that was like my go-to that I was obsessed with. I would reorder it all the time, and then I think they stopped making it. Maybe they turned me to that.
I have the NYX one.
The NYX one. But this is so normally. So I do have like a lash lift right now.
Ooh, nice.
So I don't do any mascara when I have a lash lift, but once my lash lift starts to like droop, like once the lashes start to go down to normal, I use this, and it literally gives you like these long lashes as if they were yours. It's amazing. It's literally a lash extension.
Oh, I have the makeup or the mascara primer from Lancome, and it's also like today I used it, and it's like if I want to make like an impression, or like if I want to like step it up a bit in my appearance, I try to use that mascara primer, and it also just makes it easier to wash off as well, like the mascara. So yeah, I think just pimping out your lashes is always like, it's such an easy way to like enhance your whole face. Like,
Oh, 100%. I mean, when I get a lash lift, I think I look 5 years in, no joke. Like I once I did it, I was like, oh, I'm never going back. This is amazing.
I look more awake when I do it.
Yeah. And look, you look just like awake, your eyes are brighter. And I will say, like when I have a lash lift, I will not use mascara because I find that like, even though they say you can use mascara when you have a lash lift, I find that when I use mascara, that's when they start to like, yeah, like go down and stuff. So, and I never have mascaras that are water or like not waterproof. And I think you're supposed to do like not waterproof mascaras with a lash lift. So I just don't.
Oh, I don't use waterproof ever because it's too hard to wash off. I don't know how you do it. Who has time for that?
I guess I could try going back to non-waterproof. I don't know. I've always used waterproof.
Waterproof is good if you want to hold the curl. That's apparently like a fact.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, also another product that I'm obsessed with, my Gen of Arch brows product. I absolutely this is like my fourth tube of this product. This and their actual, I think, what is this called? I don't know. It's like a brow like gel product that is just amazing. And then my favorite fragrance, I no joke, I get stopped. Like I go to school pickup or drop off and I get stopped almost every time by someone asking me like, what is the scent that you're wearing? Like I had like last week, I had someone running down the street being like, I need to know the scent that you're wearing. And it's my favorite fragrance, it's my signature scent. It's called Delina and it's by Parfum de Marly. Delina, so Parfum de Marly has like multiple variations of Delina. They have like Delina extract. They have Delina Rose, I think. They have like all these different versions of Delina because it's such an amazing scent. But I just like their original, like the OG.
Oh, nice. That's very fancy of you. That's like a beautiful brand. I use
I love their brand.
Since we're not gatekeeping our signature perfumes, which is like, it's a very personal thing, but yeah.
You're so right. I'm like, it's true.
So yeah, I use Joe Malone Poppy and Barley, everybody, and I get a lot of compliments on them, and or when I wear it. And actually, I knew that I was onto something when my friend borrowed my perfume, and she went on a date with her now like very serious boyfriend, and he was like, "Wow, you smell so good! You've never smelled this good." And she went the next day and bought it. So, but it's really light. It's like a light fragrance, so it doesn't last a lot. So I've been mixing it with like hand-me-down perfumes that if my friends don't like something, they know I hate to waste stuff. So they just like dump a bunch of their trash onto me. So I have Miss Dior. And I know it's like a huge fragrance. Like it's a very generic fragrance. But when you mix it with something, it's not bad, especially for nighttime.
Yeah, I feel like, the people, the perfume or fragrance connoisseurs, might poo-poo some of the more mainstream fragrances out there, but they're mainstream for a reason. Like they often smell very lovely. So yeah, I mean, I can't remember what Miss Dior smells like and what the base, like what the core scent is. Is it a rose scent or?
I don't even know what it is. I don't ask questions. I just spray it. I think the more expensive perfumes are worth it to me when I know that they are made maybe like cleaner.
Yes, which is why I love Parfum de Marly so much because they actually use like 60 to 70% are natural ingredients, which I was actually even surprised to learn because it is quite a big of a perfume house. And I find with my knowledge of perfumery, typically if you have 100% natural ingredients, the scent isn't as sophisticated, like it kind of falls flat. There's only so much you can do with natural ingredients in fragrance. So the fact that they have such a high percentage of naturals, yet the scents are so sophisticated and beautiful, it's just a testament to the formulations and the way they've combined the ingredients. My husband, so it's interesting how like certain scents smell good or bad on different people. But my husband and I recently, we went to, this was like a date day and we ended up he was like, he wanted to find his signature scent. And he has one of the Parfum de Marly scents. What is it? Hold on. I think it's called Leighton. So he has Leighton, which I love, but he finds that it's really strong. But we recently tried Baccarat Rouge on him, which is the Maison Francis Kirkjohn brand, and it's like an iconic fragrance. If you're, if you're, for those of you who are familiar with fragrances, and it's so good. It's so amazing. It has incredible sillage, and it is like it's like it's very musky, and it really does blend beautifully with the skin. But apparently some people think it smells like a dentist's office. I don't know.
Maybe it depends how it sits on the person's skin, question mark. But
yeah, for sure. I mean, for sure.
And we're not even paid to be talking about all this. Like, no brand is sponsoring us. We just like deeply have like a passionate love affair with like certain brands because I feel like we can appreciate them. So
I could go on and on. Like right now, I'll close on this in terms of skincare. I'm always trying new skincare because I get packages like every week. But I love La Seine right now. I'm obsessed with like both of their serums, their moisturizer. They have this lifting mask as well, which is insane. But I actually really, really love like their hydration spray, and then their serum, and then their moisturizer, because it is much richer than I think than a lot of moisturizers on the market. I find most moisturizers aren't rich enough, and I feel like I've always had dry skin. Didn't matter like what age, like I've always had drier skin, and theirs does the trick. Like I absolutely love their products. And then I love my JLo highlighter, which I will never. It's one of my OG. Like I live by this product. It's like everyone's always like, you look like glowy. It's like I mix my JLo. I think it's called the highlighter, but
is it a liquid? Is it a stick? Is it a cream? Like
it's a cream, and they have them in all different like colors, like rose, and ones that are like a bronze, like very bronze color as well. Oh, it's called this. I think it's called That Star Filter. Yeah, complexion booster That Star Filter, and they have the different shades like pink champagne and warm bronze. I'll use any of them. Like
Charlotte Tilbury has a similar product to that, and it's like a liquid, like kind of.
Yeah. Is it like a cream though, or is it bronze drops? Like bronzer drops, or is it like
drops?
Okay, yeah, this is more of like a cream, I would say, but it's like it's like a primer, really. Mm. And it is, I use it every single day religiously. I just mix it in with my moisturizer, whichever moisturizer.
Beauty's number one fan here.
Yeah, I know. I love it. I'm obsessed. Anyways, so many products. We can go on and on about these.
Yes, for days.
Actually, what brands have taken all your money because their marketing or copy is just so good?
Oh man. Well, Set Active recently. I don't want to talk about it. I made a big purchase. Also, Reformation is always like a really special one to me. I just like love their copy. And I remember when I was like interviewing for that senior copywriter role I had at Ulta, I did a whole presentation on Reformation. No one asked, I just did it. But just so I could like show them that I know marketing and whatnot. And it got me the job. But yeah, I love how colloquial and like simple and understated all of their like newsletters are, and just their copy in general. And like, I remember their tagline, even when like, I'm not like, if that's the only thing I remember, it's being sustainable is number one, like, or being naked is the most sustainable option. We're number two or something. And I just think it's like, it just encapsulates like their whole branding, because it's like they're funny and friendly, but also sustainable, and they're trendy. And yeah, also like their clothes are not only sustainable, but like I have a pair of jeans I bought last year, and I've probably accidentally worn them every single week this past year. So I had to buy another pair of jeans just so I can stop wearing these to death. But yeah, I think that's an amazing brand. Also, here's a surprising one. Lately, I've been really into just Levi's. Like, I think there's a lot of trends going back to like nothing complicated, like anti-luxury in a way. And I feel like what's more anti-luxury than just like a classic pair of Levi's? They're just timeless. They've been around for decades. They're true American pants. And yeah, I'm just trying to maybe like strip down like any kind of pretension in a way. With that said, I just said reformation, but like it's about a healthy mix. Okay.
I love Levi's, like from like a branding perspective. Fun fact, I remember I went to the founder's house one time in San Francisco, or like outside of San Francisco, just because. Anyways, I knew someone that knew someone, and somehow ended up at their house. Yeah, as one does, in their 20s. And it's always just cool to see the inner workings. But the Levi's does such a good job of like staying true to them. So speaking to like what we were sharing earlier about, having that one thing like that, like they're known for like the classic jean. They're not going out. They're not trying to like veer outside of what they're known for. I will say, like, I can't wear Levi jeans just because they're not for my shape. And I've had the hardest time in the world trying to find jeans. And you're gonna laugh because so the only jeans that I can wear, no joke, like all my pairs of jeans are from this store, are Fashion Nova. Do you know Fashion Nova? Okay, so unfortunately, and I'm not a proponent of fast fashion. They are a fast fashion brand, but it's literally the only jean. I've tried luxury, expensive brands, cheap brands, like all the things. So most jeans are either too tall, or the waist is super big, or the butt is super flat. I have like a cinched waist, a bigger butt, and then like
Tough life. You just have an hourglass body. Wow. Must be so hard for you.
but so hard. But like, and then I'm short. So like I need the perfect fit, and they're meant for my body type. Like they're the only company that I've tried, and their jeans are no joke, like $20, $30 max. It's insane. But yeah.
I mean, I think you should try the wedgie fit Levi's though, because and also they have like short girl sizes too, like 28.
But are they like big in the waist?
No, not at all. They have the buttoned ones as well instead of a zipper, so they like cinch in, and there's some with more stretch and less stretch. Like I just was at the store last week. I bought 4 pairs, and I'm only keeping 2. I got like a regular denim, which I got boot cut, the wedgie fit, which is like, it's called wedgie because it's made for like your butt to look nice. Yeah, and then I got that, then the 501 classics in like jet black.
Okay, maybe I'll try it out, because I find that most jeans in the waist, I always have a space. There's always a space in the back. I have to wear belts with every single pair of jeans.
Tell the girl at the store. I'm sure she'll have something because there's so many different like.
I will try it. If that's true, I'm gonna check it out. I'll check it out. And on the flip side, though, I'm obsessed with this brand, this fashion brand, Nation, and they've taken my money quite a few times. And everything's about like reducing carbon footprint, like truly, like every single product that they actually show you like how much it impacts carbon footprint, how much they're reducing carbon footprint with each purchase. And they just have really cute, like feminine items but still like athletic. It's like a feminine athletic vibe.
Oh, that sounds cute.
It's really cute. I love their stuff. Okay, so last question. You've been in this space for 11 years. What have you learned about human psychology through digital content that most people don't understand?
That's a great like segue, because what we were just talking about, I feel like people want something that feels authentic and like Levi's, and so I think that humans just like can sense like innately if something feels authentic or not, or if you're just being like a phony, or like you said, like chasing trends or something. So like staying true to yourself, true to brand, I feel like that goes a long way. And I feel like people just want to feel good. Like people are not trying to overcomplicate their lives, they're not trying to add a million steps. Like even if you're selling products that add a step to your routine that's not necessarily like super essential, I think that that's when you see people who like have like a just like a temporary like phase where they use your product, but then it's like a fad. But when you create something that's just like essential, that helps people, like genuinely helps people, and makes their lives easier, that's when you have something that like really works. I mean, going back to even like, I don't want to be the person who's like, oh, Apple, because like, yeah, I get like Apple is like a legendary company, and yeah, not everyone is going to be Apple, but just like one thing about them is that they do have like really simple products that like grandparents, like if I were to choose a phone for my grandma, which I did, like she has an iPhone because it seems a lot more simple than to teach her how to use an Android or something. Like that's kind of what I've gathered at the end of the day. Simplicity trumps all.
Simplicity and being a staple in someone's, day to day. Like we named all these brands. Some of them that we named are, products that we purchased over and over and over again, which is they've made their mark into our routine.
And your reputation, I would add too, like, is so important, because there are like people who buy things once, and then there's repeat customers. And if you're a brand that has repeat customers, I also bet that you have a lot of like new customers through word of mouth, because if somebody's using something constantly, you're going to be talking about it. Like I've gone through so many bottles of that miel rosemary scalp oil, and my friends all have a bottle now because I've just gone through so many bottles that I've just been talking about it nonstop. They're sick of me. Um, or this brand Mary Ruth's, I'd always buy their kava, like sleepy time, like liquid tincture, and it works like nothing else I've ever tried in my whole life. And yeah, I've gone through several bottles. I gift those, and when you have a brand that's like giftable because you love it so much, like that's when you know you're onto something. Which wasn't the question you asked me, but it was something that I wanted to share before we conclude this podcast.
Amazing. Oh my gosh, we'll definitely do a follow up. I'm sure if this was interesting to you guys, let us know. Leave us a review if you like this episode. We'll do more. If you didn't, DM me. But thank you everybody for listening, and thank you Keemia for joining us for this amazing session and for sharing both your wisdom, your product faves, but also all of your e-com goodness.
It was very, very fun, and it was a pleasure to be on your episode. And I've been listening to this podcast. It's wonderful. So whoever's listening to this, go listen to the other ones too, and you won't regret it.
Yeah, they're really, really good. And it's been wonderful to hear how openly some of our founders and our experts are willing to share and divulge all of their best kept secrets. So yeah, thank you. Thanks everyone. And I'll see you on the next episode. Bye everyone.